So you just started your creative business and you're trying to get to your first 6 figures and you feel stuck. You don't know how. In this video, I'm going to show you some of the first few things that I did in the first year to get to 6 figures, and it's not as difficult as you might think. Hi, my name is Shantan Magahan. I'm the owner of Butler Branding. We have a creative agency here in Central California, and I also teach the business of creativity, helping creative entrepreneurs level up in their creative business. Before we get into the meat of today's video, if you go to coachmyagency.com, I coach this stuff one-on-one. So if you're a creative agency and you're looking to go to the next level and you're looking for one-on-one coaching rather than just buying our courses, which, by the way, we do have courses at agency.butlerbranding.com, you can also go to coachmyagency.com if you're looking for that one-on-one level of coaching. All right, now get into the meat. How do you get to your first 6 figures? When I was in the Future Pro group, so that's where Chris Doe, he runs the Future and he has a pro members group. In one of the calls, we were talking about making your first 6 figures. And what I noticed is that a lot of the creative entrepreneurs in that group were like, they thought 6 figures, that was like, that's out there. That's, really hard to do. And for me, I was thinking, actually the first 6 figures is the easy part. Like, it's easy to make 6 figures. What's hard is what happens after that. And I realized it came off kind of jerky and pompous to say, 6 figures is easy as a creative entrepreneur. And I think the reason why is because I never started as a creative. I started as an entrepreneur. And so I want to tell you some of the things that I did early on to get to our first 6 figures. Now, full disclosure, it was difficult. I'm not going to say that it was super easy. There was a lot of hard work that went into it, but I was able to get out of my day job within about 4 to 6 months after starting Butler Branding. The number one goal, if you're getting started in your creative business, the number one goal you have is to try to quit your day job, right? You want to replace your income because you want to do what you love to do and you want to do that full time. Maybe you have a day job doing something else. Maybe you have a day job doing creative work and you find it difficult because all of your creative energy is in your day job. Maybe you have a business building job, something that doesn't take a whole lot of creative capacity and you could just shut it off after business hours and then just work full time on your business after that. Whatever your situation is, I understand that the goal is to try to get out of your day job so you can do your own business, work for yourself full time. And so what that means is you're going to have to moonlight, meaning work after hours up until you have enough income to replace your current income. When I started Butler, I was in my mid-20s and I was married and had a family. So I already had kids. And so I couldn't just bet the farm on making this thing work. I had to make sure that I knew I was going to take a risk. If you're starting a business, you're going to take a risk, but my risk had to be calculated because I have other human beings depending upon me to bring home revenue. And so I couldn't just burn the bridge behind me. I had to make sure that my risk was calculated. And so what that meant was I had to start building my business in the evening hours and take care of my day job during the day. I think the number one thing that you have to think about, it's a mindset thing. It's not necessarily a practical thing. There is practical stuff I'm going to give you, but it really is a mindset. You have to treat it as a business from the beginning. Most of the creatives that I talk to and that I coach, they're really good at their craft and they take their craft personal. This is their passion. They love doing what they do. They think if I'm just a good creative, if I do really good work and just share my work, people are going to hire me. And they don't really think of themselves as a business or as an entrepreneur. For me, it was really kind of the opposite. I'm a creative and I'm naturally creative, but I was never formally trained. I didn't know how to do graphic design. I didn't even know the Adobe suite or anything, but I knew that I could learn creativity and I wanted to be part of marketing and to do, I didn't even know what to call it. In fact, we didn't even call ourselves Butler Branding when we started. It was just Butler Web and Design because we're building websites and basic graphic designs. It wasn't until, I think it was 4 or 5 years into starting the business where we repositioned our brand because I figured out what branding was. And so all that's to say is that I didn't start as a creative necessarily. I started as an entrepreneur. And so if you have to change your mindset to say I'm not just a creative, I'm not just given to my craft, I'm actually starting a business. And when you really adopt the mindset of an entrepreneur, you start to think differently. Okay, what's the difference between a business owner and just a solopreneur or like a freelancer, someone who does it on the side? right? Nobody tells you, like when you're growing up as a kid, nobody tells you that your parents are just figuring it out as they go, right? It's not until you become an adult and you have kids of your own, you realize like, oh my gosh, like nobody really has this thing figured out. We're all just people figuring it out as we go. Well, it's the same thing with business owners. When you look at the super successful business owners and the agencies that you want to be like, just know that these are just human beings that don't really know what they're doing, and definitely didn't know what they were doing when they got started, but they determined that they were going to figure it out, right? So you have to adopt the mindset of a business owner, understand that you're going to figure it out as you go. And one of the first things that you have to do as a business owner is put together a business plan. Okay, what is your product that you're going to sell, your service? Who is the market that you're going to attract? What is the gap in the market that you're uniquely going to fill? What is the price points that you're going to sell your services at? What is the offer and the package? You have to think about all these things. And surprisingly, a lot of creative entrepreneurs that I talk to, they know what they can do, they know what their capabilities are, but they've never thought in their mind about a clear package or offer for a very particular audience. What the first thing is of putting together a business plan is, who is your audience? What is their pain point? Own that pain point as the thing that you're going to solve. Figure out a package and a price and an offer and a call to action. And that's gonna be your basic messaging when you first start. That's what you're going to sell. Okay, so the first thing is adopt the mindset of a business owner, not just a creative. The second thing is that you have to think about, would I hire me if I was the CEO? Would I hire this person to be my operations person, right? The person that's in charge of all of my operations. And if the answer is no, well then what are you actually doing, right? So what I mean by that is the person that's in charge of all the operations is the person not just that has the vision of this is where we're going as a company, but here are the systems and the processes that we're going to create in order to see that vision come to fruition. There's this great book called The EMyth Revisited by Michael Gerber, and he talks about every business has three people. Even if it's just you, there's three people. There's the entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician. The entrepreneur is the visionary leader. They say, this is where we're going, this is the direction we're headed as a company. The manager is the one who sets up the systems and the processes to be able to pursue that vision, and the technician is the one who does the output. They do the creative work. They actually do the work. And a lot of creative entrepreneurs get into the trap of just being a really good technician, but they don't have any kind of entrepreneurial vision of where we're actually taking this thing, or they don't have the systems and processes that are going to help aid in taking them there. So you have to be all three, especially when you first start. You have to kind of evenly split between the entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician. So to get to six figures, you have to adopt the mindset of a business owner first, and then as a creative kind of second. You have to work on your business as much as you're working in your business, on your business as the entrepreneur and as the manager and as the technician. So you're working on your business and you're working in your business. Now, with that being said, okay, you have the mindset, you have some systems and processes. The first few years, really while you're trying to find your product market fit, because you could build your whole business plan and say, this is the market I want to serve, these are the services that I want to serve them with, and these are my price points, but you're just taking a guess, right? You're going to have to go out there and test it in the market. And that means you have to get a bunch of sales under your belt. So for the first few years, as you're trying to find your product market fit, you have to be really busy with marketing and sales. And a lot of one of the pitfalls that I find creative entrepreneurs falling in is they think marketing means going on social media and just sharing their work. That's one aspect of marketing or advertising, is by sharing your work. You definitely have to do that, but you have to think of marketing as like a holistic approach, right? There's inbound marketing, which is sharing content online and trying to attract people to start a conversation with you. There's outbound marketing or outreach, where you're actually like calling people, you're knocking on doors, you're reaching out to them. That could be direct mail, email marketing, or there's networking, which is getting access to other people's spheres of influence so that you can expand your network of people who you don't have contact with yet. So there's inbound outbound, and networking. As a new business owner, you're trying to get to 6 figures, you have to identify marketing tactics that fit within each of those 3 categories. I would recommend probably 2 to 4 tactics in each one of those categories. So you're gonna have 6 to possibly 8 different marketing tactics that you're gonna be running with, and try to set up certain tests, to see what's working, what's not, so you can whittle it down and narrow it down to the few things that really work well for you. You can't just put all of your eggs into the inbound marketing basket. So for the first few years, as you're trying to find your product market fit, be super busy with marketing and sales. Another pitfall that I see new young entrepreneurs falling into is that they're really trying to refine their process and their product before they're busy with marketing and sales. And really, you have to do both. You have to get some traction. Why? Because you're gonna be testing it across a bunch of different audiences, a bunch of different customers to really refine your product. You're not gonna refine your product in just like a lab behind closed doors, just between you and yourself. You have to put it out into the market. So be super busy with marketing, be super busy with sales. Okay, so some of the practical things that I did. Now, I'm not recommending any of you guys do what I did. It's just what I did. So when I first started, I didn't even think of it in these 3 categories. I just knew that I needed to get business. And so the very first kind of marketing push that we did was we got a booth at a local women's event. So there's a women's conference, the Central California Women's Conference. And I just thought, hey, this is a women's conference with women who want to be empowered and they're trying to better themselves. I bet you there's a lot of entrepreneurial or executive type women at this conference. And I bet you that a lot of agencies aren't going to be at this conference because it's all going to be about health and wellness and about other things. I wonder how many agencies would actually be here trying to promote their business. So I got a booth. I developed a lead capture process. So when we were at the event, we had some way of gathering leads. And we went there, and there was like 3,500 women or something. I forget how many women were at this Central California Women's Conference, but we got our first 3 clients ever at this women's conference. And so it paid for itself and some, because we did not only a good job with these ladies that we'd met, but we also sourced referrals from them, and that started kind of getting the ball rolling. Now, that wasn't the only thing we did. So that was just one thing, is networking or going to this event. I joined the local Chamber of Commerce. I didn't know what else to do. I knew that new businesses join the Chamber of Commerce and they go to these like networking events. And so I was expanding my sphere of influence. I memorized the story, so I had some sort of a story, and it probably wasn't good to start, but I refined it as I went. But I was getting outside of my shell. I was talking to new people and expanding my network or my sphere of influence by going to these networking events. And the Chamber of Commerce was one of those. And there's a few other networking groups that I joined. Another thing that I did was I got brochures and business cards, and I literally went door to door and knocked on businesses' doors and was the annoying sales guy who said, hey, sorry to bother you, but we're a new agency in town. We just wanted to introduce ourselves so you knew that we existed. If you need any help with website design, development, or graphic design, we'd love for you to just connect with us. And obviously it's annoying. There's a lot of rejection, but there were also people who were open to letting us work with them. And so that's outreach. One of the other tactics I did was telemarketing. Again, I'm not recommending any of you guys do this. It's just what I did. I actually came from a telemarketing background, so this is kind of comfortable for me. I know that a lot of people, this is really uncomfortable. It took me years to get comfortable with this, but by the time I started Butler, I had already done this before. And so, but it did get us a ton of business. And so the way I did it was I went to our local county recorder's office. I got a list of all the new businesses in the area. I called them all, and I introduced myself as the new agency, and I offered them a free resource. And so I got an email list and the business owner's name, and we got a bunch of appointments and a bunch of sales that way. So, and yes, we did the other things like organic SEO. We did some paid ads. I got on TV. I tried all these different things, but I didn't have a ton of money or resources when I first started. So I had to really be intentional with how we were expending our marketing efforts. And so it was all the stuff that you could do for free. So that's what I did. All right. That's it, guys. I don't want to share a bunch of, tactics, that's pretty much it. I did telemarketing, outreach, SEO, so by creating content on our site. There's a bunch of other things, but I think primarily it's the mindset and the effort. Okay, so the question you have to ask yourself is, if you were hiring someone that was going to be the operations manager for your company and they were putting in the effort that you were putting in, would you hire them or would you fire them? And I guess the last thing that I want to say is that if you want the results that nobody else has, then you have to be willing to do the things that nobody else is willing to do. 6 figures is not that hard. What is hard is going from there. So let's get you to your first 6 figures. If you like this content, you want to hear more of it, click that subscribe button, like, share, do all the things. I'll see you guys on the next video.